Hey, everybody. Welcome to KY Go Digital. My name is Letitia Sparks, and I am the Programs and Partnerships Manager at KEDC, the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation, and I'll be leading the show today, and I'm very excited. We had several members of the KY Go Digital team with us today. Elaine Abernatha, Digital Innovation Leader for JCPS, is running the call. Hello. Heather Worrell, Executive Administrator of Digital Innovation for JCPS, and she is joining us from the JCPS Aspen Challenge this morning. Also on our panel, Allison Gregory, Lead Learner at Simpsonia Elementary School in Graves County, Kathleen Receiver, Digital Innovation Leader at JCPS, and Allison Langley, Special Education Facilitator and Innovative Technology Fellow in Hardin County, and she will be administering the chat window today. So please enter your questions. Let us know who you are, where you're joining us from in the YouTube chat today. I'm going to hand it over to Team Boone County. Marianne, it's great to have you guys with us today, and I'll let you introduce your team. Thanks so much for being a part of the show.
Thanks a bunch. We're excited to be here. I do want to introduce my partners in crime, truly my partners in crime. Cathy Himmelmann, she is our middle high technology resource teacher, and Chris Walsh, our elementary technology resource teacher. And everything we're going to share with you today, these two are what makes it happen. There's all the nitty gritty, the detail work. We come together as a team and talk about how do we improve access for students and teachers and those kinds of things, but these two really are the ones in the weeds making it happen, and we certainly could not do any of this without their expertise. So as a district, we're Boone County, the third largest district in the state of Kentucky, and I know Jefferson and Fayette County may laugh when I say we have 22,000 students, but to us that's a lot. We have a department of about 15 folks managing 27,000 plus devices, 22,000 accounts for students, and 5,000 staff accounts. So we're a little slim. So that's what brought us to a lot of the automation tools that you'll see today. And it truly did, I'll be totally transparent, it did start as how do we organize ourselves as a department with all of these different tools that we have access to and that our buildings use. When we're having a difficult time realizing how do you log in and how do you do this, and then we know our teachers and students are having a hard time. So it really did start out, okay, we've got to get ourselves wrapped around this and how we can best help our students and teachers work with the tools that they have. We are very fortunate as a district. We have a lot of tools. We use a lot of the tools that we've seen shared on KY Go Digital, and when we were first approached to do this, we were like, okay, that's already been talked about, that's been talked about, and we do that very similar. So we thought we might just share how we have automated some things to help with some free resources, some paid resources that our teachers have access to. The tools that we're going to share today, all of them are free except for one, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to it, but know that we didn't spend a lot of money doing what we're going to share today. So the first thing I want to share is where we started was in Infinite Campus. And we created a custom technology tab in Infinite Campus that really gave our teachers a one-stop shop to see what students had access to, what they were allowed to have, what they were allowed to do, how do I get into programs, and it just gave them one location for seeing those things. So our teachers have rights to see this tab. If a student is assigned to me, I have rights to see this tab. They do not have edit rights, but they can see this. So the first section we created was the acceptable use policy. Trying to keep track of those pieces of paper that come in. Our AUP is embedded in the code of conduct, but keeping track of that every year was cumbersome. So we have a procedure where as soon as the student's enrolled in an elementary, or middle, or high, as soon as they're enrolled, they bring in the AUP. That AUP is good for them the length of their stay in that elementary building, middle school building. When the acceptable use policy changes, then we will remove all of the check marks in Infinite Campus, and then we have to, the building will go in and mark those again. But it's really, the AUP is good for them the length of their stay in that school. We also have a section for bring your own technology. That was, teachers were having a hard time who's allowed to bring their technology, who's not. And our schools have developed their own sets of procedures and requirements that students must make, going through the digital driver's license. Common Sense Media will use to go through the cyberbullying, online safety, those kinds of things. And once they've met the school set of criteria, they're allowed to then bring their own device. This is where we can track that if they're allowed to do that. Next section of the acceptable use policy is looking at an assigned device, whether they have picture rights, so the teacher can look and see. So if I have a Chromebook assigned to a student, we are 1-to-1, third grade through 8th grade. I can see what device I've assigned to that kid here. Are they allowed to have a picture taken for school related purposes, or are they not? So we have a check mark for no, because majority of our kids are allowed to have that, so it's easier just to mark that no. Then we have a couple of notes fields. You'll see there. One new piece that we've added is the disabled account. And if the school technology coordinator needs to disable a student's account for some reason, that school technology coordinator can check that box, and then on the back end, that student's account will be disabled. And then the last three fields that you see on our Infinite Campus Technology tab is really where the magic happens for a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So again, the teacher can see all of this, and this is particularly helpful at the elementary level where, kiddo can't get logged in. What's my username? What's this kid's email address? We're a large district. Sometimes we have duplicate names that need an extra initial or a number or something on there. So this is where it helps the teacher a lot to be able to see what is that kid's login information. So we have automated this piece so that we have a tool. Once the enrollment is created in Infinite Campus, we have a tool that we use, Tools Forever. And we use the UMRA portion of that. That's the User Management Resource Administrator piece of that tool. So when the enrollment is created in Infinite Campus, UMRA then pulls that information and it creates the Active Directory account. So we don't, once the building registrar, whoever it is in that building that puts the enrollment in, they start the process. And so from there, everything is automated. The AD account is created, which then gives you the email address and all of those things that you see here. The username, once AD has created the email address, the username is pulled from the first dot last of that email address, automatically populates the username field. The password, once again, when the enrollment is created, on the demographics tab, we pull the last 4 digits from that demographics tab and put it in the password tab. So that's automated. And then the email address, as it just comes from Active Directory, that gets pulled from here automatically. So all of these things, the enrollment may take place at 10 o'clock in the morning. All of these processes take place overnight. So when the kid comes back the next day, they're ready to go. All right. So we're going to talk a lot about this username, password, email field in what Chris talks about and what Cathy talks about, because what we were running into is we had all of these products. We had Lexia, we had Dreambox, we had Edgenuity, all of these things, but they all had different usernames, different passwords. So how could we streamline that so that we know that a kid's login credentials for Lexia are the same thing as Google on the Chromebook, Dreambox, Edgenuity. So we were trying to streamline that process for our teachers. Again, the school technology coordinator has rights to edit this field. So if a name changes or something like that, this can be changed. Email address changes for some reason. Teachers just have view only rights. And a lot of times what they will do is ask a registrar or someone with ad hoc rights at the beginning of the year, they can run a report, have it all on a spreadsheet, and use it easily that way. Anything you guys would add, or any questions that anybody would have before I?
This is a game changer for me. You all say you didn't have anything to add after looking at the other episodes, but I get something out of every episode. And for me at the elementary level, we have 1 million programs that we use. And so just the amount of time that this is going to save us is huge. So thank you for sharing, and don't ever feel like there's not something we can use, because definitely game changer.
Okay. So keep in mind this username password email field, because a lot of what Chris and Cathy are going to talk about, this is where that information is coming from. So I'll let Chris take over.
All right. So as Marianne said, it all kind of starts in Infinite Campus. And then now that we had kind of an organized structure of what usernames and passwords are going to be for students, we had to figure out how are we going to make it easy for folks to access all the different programs that we offer. So what you should see on the screen there, we tried to start with the why. Why do we need this? And because we didn't know, we had a hard time keeping track of where everything was. And so this was, again, kind of started from that need. So because we're mostly one-to-one with Chromebooks, we used Google Sites to create a website. And as you see on your screen, there's a little drop-down menu. And as long as any Boone County user is logged into their Google Chrome account, they'll have that drop-down menu. And those are links that we push out to everybody in our district. The one that's in the little red box, that's the district programs dashboard that I'm going to talk about. So as long as any of our users, our students, teachers are logged in, they'll see that menu and they can get to this website. The website kind of came out to solve a number of problems. One was to have a central location for everything. We've got one website that any school in our district can go to, any student, any user, and it will take them to the appropriate link to the programs. The other piece there is we only have to update one website instead of having to tell every school to say, hey, you need to go to your school website and update this link, and go to network apps or go somewhere else to kind of get to those links. And then the other piece is troubleshooting. We get calls all the time. They're saying, hey, we can't get into Lexia. And our first question is, well, how are you trying to get to Lexia, right? And if they're not starting on our district programs dashboard website, then they're probably doing like a Google search or something, which is taking them to the wrong place. So this really helps us tremendously when we're trying to solve those problems. So the next screen here, you saw on the initial home screen, you see they have 4 choices, very, very basic. You're either a building program admin, a district program admin, a student, or a teacher. So based on your role in the district, you're going to make a selection because each product could have different links for how those different roles log in. So we're going to start with the student view. So the student view, just very basic. You can see we have icons for all of the programs there, and this is just a snapshot. There's many more if they scroll down the page. And some of those, we do utilize Clever in the district. So some of those are going to take them to a Clever login. Some of those are going to take them directly to the product itself to log in. And so again, this was just having one place that we could update and maintain the links to make sure they're accurate. So go ahead. The next option we're going to look at is the building program admin. And so here, again, you can see it looks very, very similar to what our students see. But what we did was we added a help link at the bottom of the screen. So I have it outlined there in a red box. So for those folks that are our building program admins, typically that's our school technology coordinator, our instructional coaches, and there may occasionally be other designees in the building. They'll go to that page if they have questions about how to log in as an administrator. So they click that link. And when they click that link, it will take them to another web page. And that webpage has a list of all of our elementary schools, all of our middle schools, and all of our high schools. And this is a public page, so anybody in the district can get to it. There's nothing private or confidential here. But then each of the links off of this page they're just Google Docs that have been shared with the specific people that need access. So I believe you can see Yaley up there, YES. So there's only certain people at that school that if they click that link, they'll be able to access the information. So the information that's there is the administrative logins for the various programs for each school. So that way, again, going back to the why did we change this to a website? The reason was because we used to send it out as an email. And then invariably we would get a phone call or, hey, where did I get that email? I lost that email. Can you resend this? Right? And so we said, hey, we're just going to put it in one place. It's static. They can't lose a website, right? Hopefully. So that it's in one place, they can get to it. And then if we need to change it, we can just navigate to those Google Docs and change whatever information we need to and not worry about it. The other piece of that is we're no longer sending emails and passwords and usernames via email rather. And so it's in this static location, and so that's less of a chance for that information to be compromised. So again, this is just for our building program admins, and then we control this just with basic Google rights. The document has to be shared with them for them to be able to see whatever's there. So any questions so far?
We are just praising you for streamlining, and we all appreciate the fact that it's not all living inside the emails. And we too have that same feeling of lots of people lose emails and then they're having to spin their wheels, not moving very fast. The fact that you're also streamlining your students, we talked about this earlier, so that one username helps out our littles as well, so that they don't have to continuously remember something new, but also if many hands make light work, you've given the power to the teachers for them to be able to look that up, and it's not a ticket to, I need this student's information. So just kudos, a lot of talk on the chat, and I know Allison has been replying back, so we've got Chris Lacey is on there, and he's definitely interested in what you guys have got to say. So you guys have really made it simple.
Awesome. And the one other thing I would tag on to with these program admin logins, when you have turnover, this really helps streamline, okay, this person is no longer in that role who should have access to that information. Being rights driven, that really helps us keep a tighter rein on data that people who have it, the ones that have it.
Awesome. All right, so we'll take a look now at the teacher menu. So the next slide there you can see is the teacher menu, and it looks very similar to the building program admin, except for we have a different link at the bottom. And this one just very simply says login help. And so if our teachers are trying to access a product and they're not sure what the login should be, how do we get there, even though we've got this dashboard, or want to know about the account process, that's what that information's for, and that's what Cathy is going to speak with you all about.
Yes, the link actually takes them to a Google Sheet, and as you can see by the slide that you're looking at, you want to know why we created this? Well, it's because we were trying to keep all of that in our heads. So those are all the district-supported programs that we use here at Boone County. And it was just impossible to remember, and we were constantly having to look items up, even within our own department. So we can only imagine how those people are teachers out in the buildings who don't use them frequently. But this is the go-to place if a teacher doesn't know, what do I do if I have a new student and they're not in the program? How is that account created? What's the student's login credentials? I, as a teacher, how do I log into this? This is where they go for that information. Or if they just have a question about the program, who do I contact? As you look at the next slide, you will see that we have different fields. We start out with the software program, and we just have a list of all the district-supported programs. The next one is a list of the schools that have those, because even though it's a district supported program, not all of our buildings will have that program. Then we have the first point of contact and the second point of contact. Just because the first point of contact is listed as the first point of contact doesn't mean that that person is going to be able to answer the question. It just means that that individual knows where to send the person or where to send the question. Then we have the account creation. How is the account created? We have some accounts that are created automatically, and we have some programs where we actually have to input new student accounts. So there's maybe an extra form that needs to be completed and sent to either Chris or myself so that the teachers can get the new students in. And then the next one would be the student login, if you go to the next sheet. And that actually talks about, as a teacher, if I have a student and I can't get the student in, where do I go to find the information for the student? How do they log in? And it will tell you there that it's pulled from the technology tab, which is what Miriam was just getting ready to say, I believe. So it's a helpful situation in the teachers, you know, if they have an immediate need for some information, this is where they can go. Also the teachers, you know, teachers have a lot of logins that they have to remember. So we try to make it as simple for them as possible. And we have a column that says, okay, if you can't remember how to log into this program, this is what you need to do. How to access it is just where we put a link. You'll see some of those say Clever. Those are ones that we use through the Clever, as Chris mentioned earlier. And then we have the program admin and other login. Notice that one of those says the school admin short login. The login page that Chris was talking about for the program admins, we actually have two different types of logins that we use for them. One is a long credential and one is a short credential. And depending on the program, they will have to use one or the other. So we have placed that information in this column so that they will know, if I'm going to this program, I need to make sure that I'm using the short admin password and credentials. And then we have a column that says available date. And that just lets our teachers and our people in our buildings know that this is when that program will be ready to use at the beginning of the school year. If we have a new program, or we have some programs that we have to wait until enrollment gets settled down, you know, they may start a little bit later. So we just put a date in there, and it's sort of a win-win for everyone.
I have a question. I'm interested to hear the response from your teachers, because I can imagine this would be awesome for me. I would be so happy to see this, and kind of like, how did they react? How long has this been in place? That kind of thing.
So we've had it, this is I think our second full year of having it this detailed. It was kind of a work in progress. Like I said, we created it originally just so we could keep track of it. And we hung Keith Urban beside it so that when we were frustrated, we could look at Keith Urban, and it was a very—
I saw that.
So that's what's hanging beside my desk, so that I can just turn right and there's Keith. So to say that we have every one of our teachers who are using this regularly, we would not be telling the truth if we said that. But as this being our second year, more and more are aware of it, and more are very appreciative of it, because they just want to be empowered to say, instead of, like someone mentioned earlier, putting in a ticket to say, what's this? Now they have full access to see, this is how the login's created. This is where I go to get in. This is how I get in. And not just students themselves too. You know, Cathy mentioned, you know, if all these products would have the same requirements of what a login should be, man, that would be fantastic. But when this one requires this one requires that, then, you know, you have to just be reminded of what those are. So,
it's like your district help desk, like a little district help desk. You just go in there, and a lot of your questions, probably 75%, can be answered. That is so smart, and it is empowering for teachers, which is great, because they don't necessarily want to take the time, or they might feel like they're bothering you guys. So that's awesome that they don't have to do that.
And as a principal, they'll come to me a lot of times, because we're a smaller school, for all of that information. And so for me, even if our district could take that on, it's great. It's automated. It pulls, and for teachers, it just takes a little bit of time for them to go in and know that's the tool they use. And so if you just continue to direct them to that Google site, it becomes automated for them too. And my teachers, I know, are almost begging for things like that. So they don't have to come to me. It doesn't take time. It's that real time, quick access when you need it on demand. And so I think this is just awesome.
Yeah, when they can look it up in 30 seconds versus it, this is already done. Okay, I've missed the boat on, that's what it's
right.
like.
Versus 2 days of waiting for me to respond or getting in there and adding somebody. I mean, that's the reality. They need it right then. And so I bet you've got a lot of teachers in your corner for sure.
Yeah, they've been very receptive to this. I know when we rolled the technology tab just by itself, we rolled that to our school technology coordinators. The first meeting we announced that or showed that, they were just cheering. They were so happy for, because that helps them too. They're the ones that, and our buildings are large. Some of them have 70, 80 staff members. So this school technology coordinator who's also trying to teach during the day is trying to help this kid get in, this teacher get in. So they were absolutely thrilled and have done a good job helping promote it for us. Yeah. So I think, anything else, Cathy? Okay, so I think, Chris, anything?
I was going to add that I can't stress, I don't know the right word at the moment, but for the automation part, because and while it benefits our teachers tremendously, as Marianne said, they have the power. When they do a name change at the registrar in their office, it triggers all of these things to happen. And so they're not waiting on the technical staff to get in there and manually change things. And they should see that. They know that because they look at the sheet that Cathy went over, and when it talks about that how accounts are created, it says, it will take 24 to 48 hours after an enrollment has been completed. And so no longer are they coming to us and saying, well, when are you going to do this? And I was like, well, I'm going to do it as soon as you get them registered, kind of thing. So it kind of puts the burden back on them to make sure that they've kind of got their ducks in a row too. Because we've tried very hard to get our ducks in a row with all these processes. So.
And that's probably, thanks for mentioning that. That's probably a group that we didn't touch on here, is getting the folks in the front office who do the enrollment, your counselors who do the scheduling, getting not to leave them out, because now their role is super crucial. If I have a misspelled name or an extra space at the end of the first name or the last name in Infinite Campus, then that jacks everything up. If the kid doesn't have a full schedule, then some of these programs don't pull in the kid at all until that schedule is full. So your office staff, and they are invaluable, and they are always happy to help in any way they can, but it's a big communication piece to them so that they realize that there's a lot more depending upon this name entered correctly in Infinite Campus or this schedule being complete in Infinite Campus. There's a lot riding on that. And I would say that would be one thing that we probably did not do as good a job the first year we rolled this out, was bringing those folks into this entire process, when really they're the basis of this process, because nothing begins until they do their work. The final thing we wanted to share with you is our Chromebook repair program that we have at some of our middle schools, and this is a growing resource in our district. We are, as I think I said earlier, we're in year 3 of a one-to-one deployment for 3rd through 8th grade. We're pretty much one-to-one everywhere, but 3rd through 8th grade is a district funded with a little bit of assistance from the schools. This is truly our own district funded area. So, we automated some things, gave people, how do you get to them? Well, now they have devices to get there. Well, we all know Chromebooks aren't the most durable of devices, so they can break. Sometimes we want to flip keys off of them, or we want to close up a pencil and in there and crack the screen or something like that. So you see a picture there of one of our middle schools, and this middle school actually did a poster session at KISTI on their repair program. And so what they do is there are certain things that they can do. You see that on the screen. They can, replace keys and those kinds of things. But there are certain things that they have to send it off. But this group of kids, there's a certain period of the day where, based upon student need, if I need to work on something science related, I need to work on something reading related or an interest related. These group of kids, their interest was in technology and making how things work and those kinds of things. So they filled out an application and were selected for this period of the day. I think they have 50 minutes every day, and their job is to come in and repair Chromebooks. So they have their own internal work order system. This is what's wrong, so they can replace the key, they can replace the screen, and then they get it back out. So what this does is, we have a very good relationship with our Chromebook vendor, and they're really good about getting the devices back to us, but this just really shortens that turnaround time of mailing the device in and getting it back. So the reality is, a device could be out of the kids' hands maybe half a day, and if this group can get to at that time, maybe 2 days. So that's what they do during their Blazer time. They go through a set of training. They have training videos that they watch, and then they have to demonstrate that they're able to do this work before they can continue with this class period. We have 2 middle schools who are doing this now. We have a third getting ready to come on board, and some of these middle schools will actually let some of the elementaries, hey, send me your devices, we'll fix those and we'll get them back out to you. So it shortens their turnaround time, so their kids are not without a device for as long as it would be mailing it in and getting back. So we wanted to give a shout out to them, because kids who are taking this interest are crucial to all of this as well. They understand the importance of turning around those devices, not having their device during the class period, because I think they feel it now, hey, if I don't have my device, then they feel all out of sorts. We have some of these kids moving on to the high school next year and really want to get the same type of thing established in their high schools too. So I think that's about it for our show. Any questions anybody might have, or?
I wanted to go back and just really say again how much I appreciate the point. I think Chris made it initially about the why, about having the why in place, and how everything you guys have talked about today is for kids, in the sense that it is about making sure that kids have the technology, whether it be the program or the actual device. Because if they don't have the technology and it's not accessible, they can't be doing the learning. So I think that's such an important point that you made here. And I also really wanted to go back and stress the point you made about having all the people in the system on board, and the importance of having the front office staff in the mix there, because they are the people who are dealing with the students every day, all day long. They know the information that nobody else knows that needs to go into Infinite Campus. I always found that to be true. So having them be knowledgeable about what you're doing and why you're doing it, I can see how that could change the game. And I appreciate you being so transparent about saying that was kind of a piece that you learned after you got started.
Yeah. We would definitely do that a little different. And but you learn, it's part of being in a large district too, knowing, we learn a lot how what we do impacts this department, and how that, and sometimes in a large district that's a little difficult.
Sometimes in one building that's a little difficult. But that's what's great about the more transparent you are about what you're doing and why. Typically people are like, oh, I know what I could be doing to contribute to that. So that's a great point you made there. Well, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you guys being on here. Allison, is there anything else from the chat that we need to bring out?
I don't think there's any specific questions, but I do expect that the folks in Boone County will have their emails inundated with a lot of questions and a lot of requests for sharing. So thank you all very much for sharing today.
Yeah, and we're happy, reach out to us. We're happy to share. We can do a chat with, any folks who want to ask more detailed questions, see things. We're happy to do that.
Well, I really appreciate that so much. And I know Elaine's going to do some closing comments for us. But thank you, Boone County, so much for being with us today. And I may actually be sending you some emails after this, asking for some assistance.
Okay.
So thanks everybody for sharing with us. Marianne and Cathy and Chris, I want to thank you again for making this the true spirit of a team sport and helping us all work smarter, not harder. So if you're out there and you want to receive on-demand video support, just click subscribe to our channel at KentuckyGoDigital.com. And all you have to do is click that subscribe button. If you're unable to click that button, just make sure you are signed in to YouTube. Our next show is in May, and we are going to explore the coding in the LI classroom, so low incidence with Nick Newton. We have also a Facebook page if you are on Facebook and can connect with us there as well. So remember that we have our new summer tour that is coming up. We have lots of different dates that we would like you to join and connect with us face to face. That form is going to come out very soon, so make sure that you stay connected with us on Twitter or Facebook to sign up to one date or all dates, or as many dates as you can, so that you can see fellow rock stars share awesome digital tools and how that they are utilizing them. And don't forget, as you create and connect, share your good ideas to hashtag so others also can learn and connect from you. So until next time, Kentucky Go Digital. Get involved with Kentucky Go Digital. Attend regional events, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or follow us on Twitter.